Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. We usually talk policy, politics, all things current affairs, but every now and then I like to go personal about my life, because what could be more important to you than how my life is. As you might know, I've got a disabled son who has Down syndrome, and one of the organizations that helps out is ARC, and I've been meaning to meet Lloyd Lewis from ARC for so many years, so glad to have you here.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you for having us.
And the only reason I could invite you is because of our mutual friend, Frances Owens, former First Lady of Colorado, as well as you're playing a role with ARC as well.
I am a Community Relations Director.
All right. Let me start with you for a second. So you go out there and you help people understand ARC.
I do.
When you put it into a bullet point, what is ARC?
Well, what most people that I talk with, they know of our stores, 100%. We have 22 stores. You'd say ARC Thrift Stores, oh, yeah, they know that. And probably a good half to three-quarters know what our mission is, but not everybody does. So I love to talk about our mission of helping people.
ARC stores, you're just there to sell junk. So basically, I give away stuff, comes out, and you sell it to somebody else.
You call it treasures.
Treasures.
Yes,
Tell me about the
treasures. Or great finds. You can, actually, I haven't posted in a while, but I used to post at least once a month great finds. And I have found very expensive Michael Kors brand clothing, North Face, beautiful baskets that are very high-end. You can find really, really nice items at our stores.
So, before we get into the real mission, let's talk about that for a little bit. The thrifting aspect has turned into a bit of a phenomenon, especially as tough economic times. Yeah, this is not great looking, but it cost me $7 at the ARC store, and I could actually afford that.
I think it is very nice looking, actually.
Well, if it came from Salvation Army, then you wouldn't like it. But the idea of thrifting, talk to me a little bit. So you run the stores.
I'm the president of the stores.
And these stores have been around for a long time, but the image of the stores have always kind of been, this is a secondhand store, when in fact people find all sorts of things at these stores. You can make your dollar go farther at an ARC store than you could at Walmart.
The industry has significantly changed over the last 2 decades, and the old world of thrift stores, where it wasn't as organized maybe, or there wasn't really an emphasis on quality like we do today, has completely changed. And the modern thrift store, most of our thrift stores, 22 across the Front Range, are more like a traditional retail store, where we emphasize merchandising and cleanliness and good lighting and quality and customer service. And we now we process over 100 million items a year. And we have nearly 4 million customer transactions a year.
So this is some sort of front to launder meth money, or because there's a lot of cash that goes through here.
Well, it's actually,
this is a Breaking Bad kind of thing.
Actually, as Frances said, we are funding advocacy for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So it's not exactly meth.
No,
but
not at all.
We're helping great people like Chance and my son Kennedy, and people with Down syndrome and autism and cerebral palsy.
We're bringing it over here. So, if I understand, ARC stands for the doesn't stand for anything.
Not anymore.
Because
no, it's not politically correct.
It's not all right. Let me drive you. Let me ask you about this. People go for chicken now, and they go to KFC because they don't call it Kentucky Fried Chicken anymore, because that's unhealthy. Now, the word retarded has become this word you can't use any longer. Now, fortunately, I have a beautiful son with Down syndrome, which allows me to use the word with complete impunity. I can call anybody that word. But why not? The NAACP is still colored people. Why is ARC no longer retarded citizens?
I think it's just more of the connotation that, we referred to intellectual developmental disabilities, special needs, just because it's a more polite way to refer to somebody. With the R word, people can be so mean, and for some reason it just...
That's why I like it.
It is not.
When was that a change?
Maybe I can address it a little bit as well. But we have nearly 200 employees with disabilities at ARC, and we talk a lot with these employees, with our managers and with our board and other people in the community. And when this topic comes up, the R word, and they talk about their experiences in school and being made fun of and excluded, and essentially ostracized, primarily with the use of the R word. They get tears in their eyes. It's very emotional. And it's a painful experience for people with disabilities. So it really is something that over the last 5 or 10 years has gained momentum, and let's be respectful of people and their differences, and let's not taunt people like Chance or Kennedy or people with disabilities who are very valuable contributing citizens.
Well, my son kicks my ass, so I figure this might be one way to get even. We'll talk later about that. All right, the money that is raised by this, you get the goods through donations, and you know, I felt good because I would give things to ARC for years before I even thought I would have, you know, a special needs son. I mean, you do this for other people. You don't realize that someday you might actually be doing it for yourself. How much money does ARC raise? Where does it go? Where does it come from? Where does it go?
Well, from the 22 stores across the Front Range, the profits are divided among 12 chapters around the state. And these different chapters, they're the advocacy arm, so they help people in their community with finding jobs, helping with job training, if they need help in school, housing, whatever they need in their communities. So ARC Thrift basically we are a nonprofit, but we are the funding arm for these 12 chapters around our state.
How much do you get out the door?
We are now distributing
a lot of it.
10 million or more annually,
Wow.
both to the chapters we support and through our employment of nearly 200 people with disabilities. So it's become a very significant funding mechanism to drive advocacy for people like our sons.
Talk to me a little bit about that. You've made a real push since you've been at ARC to get people like our kids, you know, involved in the system. You have 200 people who have disabilities working at ARC. What was it when you started?
When I started with the company, it was May '05, and at that time we had 10 employees with disabilities, and I implemented a program because I thought it was the right thing to do as a parent, and I came from the business sector and the private sector. But what I found over the course of time is that when we've added employees with disabilities, people come into work and they know it's for more than just a paycheck. They know the mission of ARC. They get to know people that they're supporting, and the morale improvement in the company from knowing why you're there and what the mission is. And frankly, it's a little difficult to be the kind of employees maybe you and I were, taking things for granted. If you're working next to someone like our kids, someone with Down syndrome or cerebral palsy, because they have such beautiful personalities, and they want to do anything to help. They love to contribute. They love to work in teams, and it just adds a whole new atmosphere to the organization that really has helped improve our funding that we're able to provide.
Well, let me give you my experience. When my son first went off to school, I was worried about a few things. One, worried about him getting picked on, and that didn't happen nearly as much as I thought might happen. But I was also worried about how he might affect other kids, and that I'm very sensitive that parents send their kids to school to get an education, and that I don't want my son to disrupt their learning experience. And I understand that him being there, it could be a disruption, it could slow things down, that they might have to stop and make sure that he's taken care of to go forward, and it could bring him down. And over the years, as I've seen and spent a lot of time in the school, I've actually seen something opposite, in that my son is a bit of a star there, and people really seem to enjoy him. When I say people, I'm talking about the kids, and that they don't see our sons the way that when you and I were that age, when we saw somebody who had a disability like that, there was no interaction. They were over there, we were over here. You might see them in the hall and point and giggle and make something, but you had no idea who these people were. And I'm thinking that the kids at school are getting a real benefit by interacting with my son. And I like to think it's true, not just because I'd like it to be true.
There's tremendous benefit from inclusion. Things have rapidly progressed over the last 30 or 40 years, and people are much more accepting and including of our children than they've ever been. And my son Kennedy, who's also in 4th grade, I think Chance is in 4th grade, he's sort of the star of his school too. When they have reading groups, people fight to read with him. When they play soccer at recess, Kennedy's out on the soccer team and kicking the ball and playing with the kids. and he's very popular with the teachers. He, he's kind of a showboat, so he was recently in a fashion show with Frances, and when his song came on, where the other kids had been shy, my son started bouncing up and down to his favorite song, which is SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah.
Or as my son calls it, Bob Bob. Big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know what connects there, but I think
That's probably what we were doing, was bobbing down the runway.
Was this at the C Foundation, or what was this for?
This was for Little Hearts.
Little Hearts.
Which benefits University of Colorado Hospital, the Cardiac Care Center for Children. It was great. But I think that there are a lot more people that understand disabilities now. I keep coming across these young high school kids that, have programs that are doing things for kids in their school with disabilities. And I just think that this is one area that we are actually making progress as a nation, that we are embracing these young kids, because we have ambassadors who are our employees with disabilities that have some horrible terror stories of abuse and neglect as they were growing up, and I'm encouraged when you say that you see this difference, because that's what we need to be seeing.
And I got to be honest, it's taken me a while to see that these other kids, they're experiencing something different because of my son, and when they it's kind of like. My daughter plays with other kids. Some of them are Asian, some of them are Mexican. Right. She doesn't see it at all. I mean, it just, when she's angry with them, it has, there's nothing about that. And people are seeing our kids, I think, a little bit the same way. Yeah. It is.
We have this.
It's changing.
We have this diverse society. We have people bring different values and contributions to, us as a society. And our kids have tremendous qualities. Whether it's academic or just in how they appreciate people or how they express, kindness or love. My son's won a number of kindness awards. And when I first joined the company, I went around and met the adults with disabilities of the company. And as I would walk away from the adults, I would think, okay, who is really disabled? Sort of the mean type A aggressive business guy, or these adults.
Talk to me a little bit. What did you do before you did this?
I was a CFO in a private sector company, a high-tech company, and I had had sort of a corporate finance track and had done the Chicago MBA and all that. And when Kennedy was born in '03, I got involved in advocacy, initially scientific research advocacy with Michelle C., and then got invited to the ARC of Colorado board and then recruited to the stores. And, so I went from this very high-tech world to a lower tech world. But the kind of employees we have who are really interested in our mission and committed to our employees with disabilities and trying to help and support them, it's been a real refreshing, look at what differences can account for in values and contributions.
How many people altogether are employed by ARC?
1,400.
1,400. This is in Colorado.
That's in Colorado.
That's when the guys
when I
who drive the
started,
trucks.
It was 500. We've got 50 truck drivers, 50 call center agents. We've got, 1,000 people in the stores. We have warehousing, and it's a large operation.
Can I ask, who the hell is this Jane chick?
Jane was actually a real person.
Jane, for those who don't know, every time you call, it's Jane.
It's Jane.
It's Jane. And then when it's time for them to pick up something at your house, hi, this is Jane. And I'm thinking,
but it's a good marketing, because people
know. And then it was
who
Jane again, but it was a different voice. And I realized it was some sort of scam.
Jane.
Who is Jane?
Jane really was there. 45 years ago.
There was a real Jane in her home 45 years ago.
Really?
And they kept the name.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think it's the same Jane who calls them every month. But we've tried to make it a very soft ask. And, we just do a gentle ask, and then I think a lot of people think it's a service because we do a home pickup.
Which is awesome.
It's a home service. It's nice. Why did you make the change? Are you a bad CFO?
I was one of the worst CFOs of all time. Yeah, that's very astute. I made the change because of my son Kennedy. And prior to his birth, like you, I didn't really know anything about the world of disabilities. Hadn't been exposed to it in school. Hadn't really met that many people with disabilities. But for some reason, with his birth, I just fell in love with him from day one and was very committed to trying to make a better world for him. And I worked on scientific research advocacy, and then thought I could take my business skills and help create funding for advocacy for people like my son. That's why I got involved.
Well, I get that. So you're soft touch. All right, I got
with
that.
people with disabilities. in
Yeah,
particular.
yeah. Your son is manipulating you. What's going on there?
But it's really the perfect mix because Lloyd has to run the company like a very progressive company, which he has, and yet the monies that we raise help so many different people. So even though it's a nonprofit, we are doing an incredible amount of work in the community.
What drew you to this? I mean, you've got a lot of experience in politics. You got a lot of connections throughout Colorado, more so than anybody else I can think of. Why this out of all the different things that you could be doing?
Well, I've always had an interest and a love for people with disabilities. My brother is blind. My sister-in-law has CP. I've just always been involved in some aspect of people with disabilities. And so when I was in the middle of changing jobs, Lloyd reached out to me, and I thought this would be a great fit.
You get a discount at the store, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. That's pretty awful. All right, talk to me a little bit about getting the message out, because if you've grown this much, and there are so many worthwhile charities, and it's kind of difficult to say, you know, I'm going to go give here or give there. And since ARC has been so successful in gathering stuff, going through it and then putting the best of it up for sale, I see these vans, I see these trucks that proudly say, I'm special. And it's a great advertising mechanism. How do you keep this company, this effort growing? Because unlike most charities that just ask for money, you actually have to make money. This is a real business, isn't it? I mean, there are cash registers, there's cash coming in, there's cash going out, and you make a profit, don't you, from ARC? Not you personally, but ARC actually brings in money. You're not just selling it as a make-work project.
That's correct. So the net proceeds, or the net profits, if you will, go to fund the advocacy of the chapters and employ people with disabilities. And in terms of the message, people primarily donate for convenience. So we try to make donating to ARC as convenient as possible, whether we're picking it up or they're dropping it off at the back door of a store. And people primarily shop for bargains and treasures and cool things that they find in the stores. So we start from the premise of we are a retail thrift store, and we want to provide convenient donation services and attractive shopping experiences. But we also talk internally about the mission, daily, monthly. We also go out in the community and talk about the mission of ARC. We have a Facebook page that's very active in promoting stories of the people we serve and the work of the chapters.
Just like the guy who sells the suits on TV or the hair club men, you're not just the owner. You're a customer as well, aren't you?
I am a customer, and a fun project recently was last May I moved my residence, and it occurred to me, I thought, I'm always talking about how great our stores are, but maybe I should walk the talk because we got all this cool stuff. So I hired a thrift store decorator, and then Frances.
Hey, whoa, time out. What is a thrift store decorator?
That's someone who specializes in helping people decorate their homes from items purchased from thrift stores.
There's such a job here.
There's such a job.
So this is a buyer. Help me out with this.
Yeah.
There are people out there who will
do that for you.
Who are specialists.
They blog, they go to stores, they have tours, they will basically, and they are very artistic usually, but they will also help you redecorate with items from thrift, which is what we did for Lloyd.
And because Frances is so elegant, I had her assist in the project, and they literally furnished my entire home
in pink
out of our thrift stores. Fortunately, it wasn't pink.
Not in pink.
But I gave them the classic 2 weeks to do it and $1,000, and they did it in 2 weeks with $1,500, and it looks beautiful. You would never guess it came from our stores.
Yeah, Denver Post covered it. It's a great article.
Not cinder block shelves and a card table, but the whole thing.
And I mean, sometimes you buy, products from thrift products that have to be redone. And like we had one table that when Barb brought it in, I looked at that and I thought, oh, I don't know about that. And after, about a couple hours of cleaning and repolishing, it was absolutely beautiful.
And they didn't let me see it, John, until they were done. They
really?
forbid me from even entering the premises because, ironically,
so this was like a reality show. They brought you in and showed you your home.
My interior decorating tests are probably like yours. They're not so good. So They did not let me see it till
Let me tell you, a Velvet Elvis never goes out of style.
Oh yeah.
I'm with you on
No.
that one.
Yeah.
No,
it does.
no Elvis.
And the sports posters, they don't go to style either.
But I
Could you still get one of those Farrah Fawcett posters from when we were in high school?
With the hair, the
hair.
great hair.
I'm not going to comment on
Yeah,
that.
He
that's
probably
what
still
that's
has
what we
one.
noticed, by the
Probably
way, was
still
the
has one.
hair.
Oh, of course, yeah.
All right, let's take this into the future a little bit. All right, so you've taken this. We now have 200 what you call ambassadors, people with special needs, who are working, and this is important. My son, I don't know about yours, but all he wants to do is help. To the point where, you can go, yes, you can leave me alone would be the best help you could possibly give me. But I mean, he wants to be involved. He wants to be part of it. So you have 200 folks that are benefiting from it. If this continues, what does it look like?
Well, we will continue to increase employment of people with disabilities. So over the next 10 years, it wouldn't surprise me to have 300 or 400 employees.
What would you say to other employers who are listening? Because right now there's a big push to get veterans the opportunity to get into the marketplace for jobs, and it's been tough for them. It's much tougher to hire someone with disabilities.
I spoke on a panel in New York on the topic of employing people with disabilities. On that same panel was a gentleman who is a senior director at Walgreens. And he's done on an even larger scale at Walgreens what we've done at ARC. And he started with a distribution facility in South Carolina. And half of the employees in that facility have disabilities. And it's the most productive of all their facilities. And then he rolled it out across all 22 distribution centers. And there is now an edict at Walgreens that 1 out of 10 new employees of that company will be employees with disabilities. My message to employers are, there's tremendous value and talent in people with disabilities. Turnover is much lower. They're very committed. They love to contribute. They love to work in teams. And the impact on overall morale, is just a tremendous impact. So I think employers can benefit greatly from employing people with disabilities, just like the grocery stores have done. There's now a 7% Fed target for hiring with Fed contracts. It's just a target. But I think that people who learn how to employ people with disabilities.
Now, you understand, from my point of view, the idea of some sort of mandate, target, quota,
No, I get
is something that I would fight even if my son benefits from it.
No,
are you telling me that employers benefit?
Employers benefit tremendously, and there are a number of employees who can speak to that, not just me. And so we really, out in our public speaking, talk about the benefits to employers and the employees of a company of employing people with disabilities.
We have one gentleman that's been at ARC for 26, 27 years with Down syndrome. He just turned 51 or 2. And when you go over to the store, the regular customers just love him. The employees just love him. He is a part of their family, which is so important for so many people with disabilities, because sometimes they do have families that have deserted them, and it's very difficult for them. But when they have a job and they're employed and they're appreciated, it makes all the difference in the world in their lives.
This particular gentleman brings in his bowling score every week and announces it over the PA system to customers and employees, and they all applaud. And we have another employee who's in a wheelchair with CP. She's a real live wire, and she told my CEO group she was gunning for my job because she'd throw better parties. And when I chided her at bowling night, she said she was throwing me under the short bus. They bring tremendous interpersonal skills to the workplace, and the impact on morale helps overall productivity.
So, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I'd love to talk a little bit about, we have a program called ARC University. We're in the third year of ARC University, where we have a gentleman that monthly puts together classes that our ambassadors take a pre-test, they do a class, they take a post-test. And this has been anything from finance to dental, gardening, tie-dyeing, learning to navigate the bus system, civics classes. And with those, if they complete 3 to 6 classes, they get a bachelor's, and then on up to a master's and a doctorate. And they
learn real world skills.
They absolutely learn real skills. We have, in May, we have a class in personal safety, and it's going to be taught by 2 of the state troopers for our class. And I mean, I've seen it. I've not been at ARC that long, but when I first came in, I mean, we had a large number, and it just grows exponentially as these employees learn that, or find out that they have another avenue of learning where they can improve themselves. So it's been a great experience for them and for us too.
We got a minute or so left, but let me ask you, now that the stores are a success, now that other people are coming in, what is the message you want people to know about ARC? I mean, it's kind of been in the background. We all grew up, and there was the ARC store, there was the thrift store, but it's changed. What is that change?
The message that we're really trying to convey is that when you shop and donate at our stores, you are supporting wonderful, valuable people who are big-time contributors, and they are, they're fun to be around, and they love to contribute. You are supporting very valuable people.
And this is not the ARC of the past. I mean, these are stores you can walk into. So I think some people feel like, yeah, you don't walk into those stores unless you really don't have the money. No, people with money, this is where you go to make it last even more.
Yeah, again, the old world of thrift has transformed, and the new world of thrift, again, emphasizes quality and merchandising and beautiful facilities. And you would think you were walking in traditional big box retailer.
Mm-hmm.
People want to help out. They don't have to just buy things. I'm sure there's other ways. If people want to learn more, where do they go?
We have a great website, www.arcthrift.com.
Terrific. Frances, always great seeing you. Great meeting you. Thank you for spending time with me. Listen to on KHOW Radio. That's 630 on your AM dial. Tell a friend about the Independence Institute, and we'll see you next week.